Oh man. Oh man. Listen, just a short 5 years ago, we was talking about HBO being done with the sport of boxing. And here we are just a short 5 years later talking about Showtime being done with boxing. First the Fat Boys break up and now this, man. Dang. Let's talk about it. What up, YouTube? Big T.O. Heavy Bad Boxing TV, man. Get your big goofy ass in here. Hit the bag. Hit that like button for your boy. That helps the channel. You know I appreciate that love. Shout out my gang. D1 Merc 1ML 21 Skinny JT Black Jesus. My guy Troy Jack. Key1 Rubber Life. Modern King Letitia YK World. My guy Tyree Celestine. Big shout out Sean Dine. Punch Strong. What up? Man, listen, I'm hurting. I'm hurting inside, man, and it's bringing up old feelings about HBO boxing too, because y'all gotta understand just how long this stuff, these networks had been around broadcasting the sport of boxing. And if you're a little long in the tooth, like myself, right? If you was an 80s baby, a 70s baby, a early 90s baby, or even just a 90s baby, period, you was raised on a lot of HBO and Showtime boxing, bro. Bottom line. And for me coming up, you know, that's when it signified as a fighter, you know what I mean, that a fighter really had an opportunity, a shot at becoming something big and having that platform to showcase their talents, may it be special or not, but a big opportunity. Man, it's nostalgic for me, man. It's sentimental for me, both HBO and Showtime boxing. I would be lying if I said anything other than that. When that music came on and them graphics rolled across the screen, you know, you got your popcorn ready, man. You knew, you know what I'm saying, it was time to watch some fights and really enjoy some fights. And for me, man, being an 80s baby, I grew up on it. You're talking about HBO from 73 to 2018. And then right behind it, a decade later, you had a Showtime from 86 now to 2023. So for a lot of us, I believe, if you're a little longer in the tooth, if you got a little age on you, it's a sentimental thing almost. But listen, what's done is done. We got to move forward. It'll be new memories and new platforms for the kids coming up. Us old heads, we dinosaurs, baby. We here now, but we here to witness it. Thank God. And it's crazy because, you know, it's eventually it's more or less looking like it's not really going to be the networks. You know, it used to be a network thing, and you know, cable TV, that's really almost gone. My kids, I have a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and none of them watch the cable TV. Me and my wife just recently got rid of the Direct TV. We had been with Direct TV over 20 years. It's all streaming, you know what I'm saying? And that's where everything is pivoting towards, including the sport of boxing. But I had to do this video because I seen that Terence Crawford and Oscar De La Hoya traded words via Twitter. And it's crazy because I think Bud makes some valid points. But I got to play devil's advocate when you really look at it. I'm going to break it down to why I feel like promoters, to an extent, are really, really needed. And I know you're going to say, Tia, when you really look at it, do you need the promoters? Yeah, you do. Because I see a lot of people in these comment sections saying, why don't the fighters just come together and do this, do that, and then third? And Bud is also saying the same thing. He would like for fighters to be able to come to the table with the promoters to discuss these fights and what's going on. And I'm going to tell you why that'll never happen. So first, this is what Bud Crawford had to say. He says, listen, and this is, of course, following the news that Showtime is done with boxing. He says, the system we have isn't going to fix this. We got to think different. Look at every other sport is building empires by doing it right. Us fighters need to come together. We can fight in the ring, but work together for our sport and our families. Right? End quote from Bud Crawford. And then Oscar came out and said this as well following the news of Showtime. Listen, I salute Showtime for the near 40 years commitment to the sport that I love. I am hopeful that we promoters can use this unfortunate situation to put our differences aside and start working together more often to help make more of the bigger fights and grow our sport. End quote from Oscar De La Hoya. And now Terence Crawford responds to Oscar De La Hoya's statement. He says, listen, respectfully, Oscar De La Hoya, if the boxers aren't at the table, it isn't going to work. End quote. Then Oscar replies, respectfully, Terence Crawford, I disagree. Fighters should hire smart, competent representation that will look out for their best interests, of his client, and fighters should worry about the small window of opportunity they have to fight as many times as they can in their short careers. And then Bud replies to that. He says, listen, this is exactly the point. I say we need boxers at the table, and Oscar De La Hoya says, sit down and shut up. You really think we better if y'all keep running things? You don't get it. We need to do things different, like other sports. We have the power, and y'all can't keep us from using it. End quote. Now, take all of that in, right? But pleading with basically the system, saying, hey, we need to change. Fighters need to be at the table. That's thinking different. That's going to help bring about the change we need in order for the sport to thrive. Oscar De La Hoya saying, listen, it's all on the promoters. The promoters need to come together, work together to make the best fights possible. And he feels that would be and help change the success in the sport of boxing. So we won't see this continuously happen to networks who go out on a limb to invest in the sport of boxing. And then, of course, Crawford feels like that's the old way of thinking, right? That's the thinking. Feeling like you can get that done is probably what got boxing in this situation now. Now, again, I've said this several times. I feel like if everybody was working under one umbrella, not necessarily having the fighters at the table, but the promotional companies for sure, as one entity maybe, I think a lot would get accomplished. I think the presence of a PBC, depending on where they go from here, which is up in the air right now. It's a lot of speculation about PBC going over to Amazon Prime, DAZN, and ESPN. Now, for me, it makes a lot of sense for them to go to one or the other in DAZN or ESPN, which have experience in the sport of boxing. I'm not sure Amazon Prime has ever hosted anything that has to do with boxing. They're extremely green in this field. I'm pretty sure they're trying to tap into that and see, what that's about. But I guess it's going to be up to PBC, Al Heyman, and whoever else to make the smartest decision for the softest landing for PBC, and probably comes down to who's willing to put up the most money. But for what Bud Crawford is saying, and again, I like the idea of everybody being under one umbrella. I think it'll be easier to make fights. If you're responsible for this, whatever promotional company is responsible for the fighters that the fans are voting to see on every single level, then you break percentages as or accordingly. I can get with that. But here's the thing. As far as what Bud Crawford is saying, bringing the fighters to the table. Yeah, once you get a certain level, I think you should be given an option to buy yourself out of your contract, become independent, so on and so forth, right? If you decide to take a chance on yourself at the end of your initial contract. But there's no getting rid of the promoters. Why? Because most of these fighters are coming into the game. They broke. They don't have the money to put on these events and, attract the attention that a promotional company can. So why would a promotional company need a fighter who's putting up zero money, right, and to fight or be a part of this event, to be at the table talking about money and figures. It makes absolutely no sense. And listen, I'm just speaking from a logical standpoint, right? Again, that's like me, or you. Let's just say you, for example. You have a promotional company. You're taking a shot at this fighter. You think he's really good. He's made some. He's caught your eye. You think he's got a hell of a left jab. You want to invest in that fighter, so you sign him to a contract, right? He doesn't have a fan base. Nobody knows who the hell he is. Now, you would like to build him up to make some big fights in the future, so eventually you can make some money off of him. But nobody knows him. He's not making you any money out of the gate for real. It's an investment from the promoters, and they can do that because they have the capital, the money to do so. That's why, for the most part, fighters need promoters. The same way Bud Crawford, when he finally turned pro and got into the sport, and got into the professional ranks, he needed a promoter. Why? Because nobody knew who the hell Bud Crawford was. Matter of fact, most still didn't know who the hell Bud Crawford was until July of this damn year. If we're going to keep it all the way a buck. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because everybody knows how I feel about Bud Crawford. I'm just giving you an example why the promoters most definitely not going nowhere, because they got the money, right? Now, again, once they invest in a fighter and they build this fighter up to be a name, and then a fighter can try and branch out on his own, and hopefully they can make and start structuring these contracts to where it'll benefit both the promoter and the fighter. Now, as far as fixing this system, I don't know what we could do is to fix what's broken when it comes to the sport of boxing, so this won't happen to the next network who shows interest in the sport of boxing. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is everybody somehow, some way has to get on the same page, under the same umbrella, under the same stipulation of rules and regulations and contractual agreements to make sure everything's fair across the board. And listen, one more thing before I let you guys go. I know this one's a little bit long-winded. Hopefully you stay with me to the end of this. Piracy, that's got a lot to do with it too. So you definitely got to rethink how you can start broadcasting these fights to where the piracy won't be a big issue. Because if you continuously using pay-per-view as a platform, piracy is always going to be a problem. And it's only going to get better. When you think about fights 10 years ago versus now, 10 years ago, the quality of an illegal stream was horrible. You'd rather just pay for the real thing so you can enjoy what you were watching. But now technology's crazy. You can stream these things in 1080p with no consequences. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, that is most definitely knocking stones out of the profit margin at the end of the day. So that has to be accounted for, too, when you're thinking about trying to fix the problem in boxing. And to be honest, I think piracy is probably a little bit bigger than what we all really think it is. I actually think it's probably messing with somewhere between 30 to 35% of that profit margin. And I'm just being real, because illegal streams is everywhere and the quality is crazy. But I want to know what you guys think about this one. Think about this in the comment section. Make sure you get back with me, man. Let me know how you feel about it. That's all I got for y'all on this one. Hopefully I made some sense to some of y'all. You already know who it is, man. Big T.O. Heavy Bad Boxing TV. Got my guy with me, Roger. Talk to him, Roger.
Most motherfuckers don't know shit about boxing.